Hello, everyone. Welcome again to More Layers. I'm Seth Mariano.
And I'm Jordan Smith. We hope if you had some winter weather this past weekend, we hope it wasn't too bad for you. If it was, hopefully you are recovering from that. For this episode, we thought, you know what? In previous episodes, we've talked about our Artist Unlimited shows and shows that we want to do that we think they might announce in a future production. But we decided to go the other way and talk about the musicals that we would like to do, but we don't think our organization would ever actually put on.
Yeah, I thought of like a handful of them. There are a number of musicals that I think are good in their own right. But they seem like out of the realm of possibility for Artists Unlimited anyway. Like hypothetically, maybe I'd like to maybe do maybe one or two or more of them, maybe elsewhere, maybe in the distant future. But yeah, but either way, I think they're good ones.
Oh, for sure. I definitely have a small handful here, like about four or so of them. And one that I would imagine we both wrote down is The Phantom of the Opera.
Yep.
Uh, for those that have never seen Phantom of the Opera, I would say that the film from the 2000s with Gerard Butler, had to think of his name for a second. I think it's a good way to introduce yourself to the story, but I highly recommend seeing the stage adaptation at some point. Phantom of the Opera is a very powerful story, but we don't think, and I'm sure Seth has some thoughts as well that may be slightly different from mine. Um, One of the biggest reasons I think we would never put this production on with this group is because of its darker elements. The songs are definitely good. The story is just breathtaking. Uh, but there are some dark things in there, like there's attempted murder, and in some ways successful. That alone, with the way it's portrayed, I don't think Artists Unlimited would ever do. In one example, that is both in the film and the adaptation that I'd seen is where there's one guy that's kind of following the Phantom, or the Phantom's following him, and then the Phantom kind of hoists him up in the air with a rope around the guy's neck, and he, for lack of a better phrasing, goes limp. That is a visual that I believe would set a lot of our cast members off. I mean, some of them, when we did The Little Mermaid, they were crying when Ariel's little cave of items got destroyed. So if they were getting upset over that, I don't think they can handle somebody getting hanged.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Uh, is there a particular role you'd want to do?
I mean, I guess I would kind of like maybe the Phantom or Rao, but I definitely would agree that it's probably a bit maybe PG-13. I think we both agree for uh, the kind of crowd that we are as a program. I think you know you know the music is really a really nice and very
Mhm.
compelling story, much like you said. But yeah, and it's probably the music is probably more complicated, I think, for a lot of us to tackle as well.
Right.
And I mean, it's great. I think in my mind, it's great, poetic, and very, very nice, very, very classical style that I kind of like. But at the same time, I feel like uh, it's a bit much probably for a lot of us.
Right. I feel like 80 to 90% of the show would be fine, but the dark elements do get pretty intense, especially near the climax when Raoul comes face to face with the Phantom. And then the other problem I think we would have to find a way around if we somehow were to put this production together, is how people generally react to or treat the Phantom himself, particularly when he's unmasked. Because we find out the reason why he has that mask is because that hidden part of his face
Yeah.
is like burnt or messed up.
Disfigured.
Was that
Disfigured or something.
yeah, disfigured in some way? Um, and a lot of people are shocked or disgusted by that. And he would be, in that time period, probably considered a freak, which we try to stay away from if we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of dark elements, some very intense moments right near the end. But I certainly do hope I get to do it at some point, though. It's definitely one of my favorite musicals or stage productions, whatever is the proper terminology to use for it. Uh, if I was a Phantom, great. If I was Raoul, great. Honestly, I'd take whatever I can get because I love the story so much.
Yeah.
But one thing I'd love to be involved in is the moment when, after the humans are hunting him down, the Phantom vanishes. Because the stage adaptation I saw, I think it was, I can't remember exactly the name of the theater it was in that I saw it, but when the humans are aware of where his hideout is and they go to track him down, right before they come into the room, he takes this secret exit type of thing, and then when they go to where that exit was, all they'll see is the mask. The version I saw, he opened this trap door type thing. I think it was like under his chair. And the moment that flap came down and they lifted it back up about a half a second later, all there was the mask. So he would have had to move real fast or have some secret thing to cover up where he just was to make it look like he just vanished into thin air. It's like, I would love to see how somebody does that.
Well, either way, I do like the show, and before I started performing myself, I watched a bunch of my colleagues do it when I was a senior in high school. They I think our school did that show like during the I guess the winter of that year, I think it was,
Mhm.
and it was my first real taste of the story, and it was a really good first exposure. It was well produced, well sung, well production designed. It was definitely one of the best things that I've ever seen.
And it does a really good job of being recognizable, even to those that have never seen the show before. Because for many people, even if they have never seen a single scene or listened to a single song, all they would have to do is take a look at the symbol for the show, which is the Phantom's mask, and be like, oh, I know exactly what that's from.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then the next one I wrote down, it's kind of similar in the aspect that it's dark and it has to do with a deformed main character. And that is the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
It may be a Disney production, but especially for that time period, this was one of the less kid-friendly versions of a story that Disney took on. Granted, most of the original stories that Disney adapts are much darker than what they do.
Oh yeah.
But when compared to their other Disney movies, Hunchback was definitely not for younger audiences. They might find some of the comedy good, but there are some dark elements in there, like how the church can be corrupt or how people in the church can be corrupted. The way an entire city is treating one person just because they look different from everybody else.
Right. Discrimination. Yeah.
Exactly. Uh, and it's that main element right there that I don't think a lot of our cast would be able to react to very well. Even if they knew in the back of their heads that it was just pretend. Just seeing somebody get treated that way would really upset a lot of them. In fact, our mutual friend Dalton, he once told me that when watching the animated film, as much as he loves it to death, the one scene he cannot watch is when they're at the Feast of Fools, the Festival of Fools. I know it has a couple names.
Yeah.
And Quasimodo suddenly gets a bunch of ropes around him. They're throwing tomatoes at him, and he's getting spun around. He cannot watch that. So it's like if we tried to replicate something like that, I feel like he and a lot of other people we know, both in and out of the cast, would have a similar issue.
Yeah. Well, on its own terms, in its own right or whatever, I think we would both agree that is a good show, though. It is got worthy themes, worthy subject matter, and it's also another one that I saw after I graduated my school at the same place, and I got to meet one of the leads at our recent production of Beauty and the Beast after one of our performances, which was pretty cool. And yeah, so
Did they tell you about their experience at all?
no, not really, not at all.
Oh, well, I'm sure they at least enjoyed themselves. Yeah. I'm trying to think if I were to be a character in this production. There's like a number of people I could be. Like I could be. I keep forgetting how to properly pronounce his name, but it's like the jester who kind of tells the story. It's like Cloppen, something like that. But he has a lot of energy. He makes the story come alive just by how he tells it. If they needed a deep voice, I could probably do Frollo because he is known for having that deeper, like Tony J voice, voiced by Tony J.
Yeah.
Maybe Captain Phoebus, maybe Quasimodo, I don't know. But like with the Phantom, as much as I love the story and the music especially, there's just some of the darker elements in how they treat the main character that I don't think Artists Unlimited would ever do it.
Yeah, it would probably be difficult.
Right. And the second to last one I wrote down, this is one that it's hard to say if they actually would ever do or not. And I say this because some of the directors have expressed interest in wanting to do it, and some of the others have been a bit more unsure. And this one is simply titled Music Man. I actually meant to do more research on what this show is before we recorded this. I unfortunately didn't get around to it. But this is one that has been tossed around as a possibility for years at this point. And again, I can't say too much about the show yet because I haven't seen it or read about too much of it. But I feel like as long as there's at least one or two directors that are kind of speaking against possibly doing it, it's going to be difficult to get that idea off the ground.
I do remember growing up watching like the ABC TV films starring Matthew Broderick and Kristen Chenoweth, and seeing a stage production of it several years ago when I was really young. And it's a bit, from my memory, it's a bit of a complicated story, and some of the music is in that is like super rhythmic and like super fast paced from my memory, more or less. Yeah, but it's, from my memory, it's a good clean show, and probably some worthy themes in there. It was you never like saw a film version or any of it?
So far, no. I am aware that there is a film version, especially as you mentioned, that had Broderick. But as of sitting here talking about it, I have not seen a version of it, whether it be film or stage.
Yeah. Yeah, my memory and comprehension of the plot is admittedly a bit fuzzy, but yeah, I definitely feel, I guess, kind of nostalgic about it anyway.
Oh, sure. If it's one that you saw a while ago that you're talking about now, then yeah, you might have some nostalgic memories for it,
Yeah.
or at least a basic understanding. You certainly have more of an idea about it than I do.
Yeah.
But it's from what I understand, it's not impossible
Yeah.
that Artists Unlimited would ever do this one, but it still seems pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
But we'll see. And then the last show I wrote down. This is a show that we've talked about a few times wanting to do. This is one that pretty much everybody in the cast has wanted to do for a while. And like with Music Man, not necessarily impossible, but it's hard to get the idea greenlit. And this is Disney's Aladdin. Now, there's nothing really wrong with the musical. This is one that we definitely could put on. The issue as of now is twofold. Uh, Basically, getting the rights to do it, because I don't think most people can really put on a full scale production of it until after it's off of Broadway. There is a junior version, but obviously, because it's a junior version, it's scaled down, it's not as grand. Uh, and then the other issue is finances. Artists Unlimited is a non-for-profit. All of our money comes from like donations, ticket sales, sponsorships, and there are some sequences, especially with flying the magic carpet and whatnot, that would be very difficult to do, at least as of now. If we can get into a better financial position, then that could be a different story. But it can cost a lot more than people think.
Yeah, I was told by somebody on our board that a single production alone costs tens of thousands to put on.
Yep.
So yeah, yeah. So yeah, every donation can be super, super precious and very, very, very much needed to make anything happen for us. So
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
And that's why we're always extremely grateful for those who do help us out, because this is a great organization that provides an outlet for many people who otherwise may not have one.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, Aladdin, great story, obviously, great music, great characters. It's definitely one that we could do, but as of now, we're not in a position to do it. Uh, I remember talking to one of our directors. I forget the exact word they used, but they were possibly interpreting it as meaning that like schools and such may not be able to put it on, but maybe some a group like us could. I don't know, but it's very much up in the air. And until we're in a better financial position and the rights are finally released off of Broadway, it's not really one we can do.
yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Fingers crossed, as they say.
right. Yeah, yeah. I had a handful, and admittedly, I was a bit more loose with my definition of musical because a couple or so of these, admittedly, are not exactly stage musicals, at least not in the traditional sense, but they are in a practical sense, and they're uh, on their own terms, in and of themselves, of great artistic value, at least in my mind. So,
Hmm?
um,
What you got?
um, okay. So the first one on my list is Little Shop of Horrors, which is the classic comedy drama musical following the bloodthirsty, human blood consuming Venus flytrap.
I definitely know that story. I don't think, I've seen a full run through of it from beginning to end, but I've seen a lot of different clips or snippets from the stage adaptation. It's got a lot of good music, and I love how people can operate the plant. Uh, from what I understand, the biggest obstacle when it comes to Artists Unlimited doing this show is that there aren't a lot of roles for everybody to have because our cast usually averages somewhere around the 60 to 70 people mark. And from what I can tell, there aren't a lot of roles to fill in Little Shop of Horrors. Um, but is there a particular reason why you don't think Artists Unlimited would do it?
Honestly, I think that would probably be the biggest stopper is that is that it's rather smaller cast. Like I know when I went to see it about I guess it was like 2 years ago, or a little less. The school building. It was in the same school building that we performed Mary Poppins that same year, but it was in a smaller theater venue within the
Mhm.
campus.
Okay.
Um, and reason I went there was because someone a volunteer on our cast was part of that show, and so I actually went on the same day that we did. I think it might have been a tech rehearsal for Mary Poppins earlier that day, but I went. Yeah, so I went. We did the practice, and then I went home for a little bit, and then came back and saw Little Shop of Horrors. And to be honest, I had not the best familiarity with the plot or even the music. So I was going into this with like, I guess you could say cold feet, but it was a great first impression of the show for me. And and one of the coolest things about it is that one of the leads whom I had not yet met, had, I met, I think I had met shortly before that someone else in the cast, and then when we performed Mary Poppins one night that person introduced me to her castmate, and who was Audrey, and that person who played Audrey, they came and actually watched our Beauty and the Beast show, two different times. She came to two performances of the show.
Or she must have heard how solid your performance was. And then when she saw it once, she was like, "Oh, I got to see that again."
Yeah, I remember her telling me, "Man, you were so funny up there," which which certainly meant a lot coming from her, because this girl was really good as Audrey, and and she was it was one of the best things I'd ever seen, and hearing her say that I particularly entertained her with my performance, and I don't think I was even trying to be funny. I was just trying to do my job, but uh, that was cool though.
See, that is what we would call a natural gift. Because a lot of people, they can pull off similar results when they try really hard, but it's the people that can do that without really thinking about it too much that have just this natural skill that can't really be taught. And you definitely have that. I tell people this all the time, you included, and I think I've said this to you before, is no matter the size of your role, you've been putting 110% into it. And believe me when I say that does not go unnoticed. We've had a lot of people in the cast, including some of their parents or friends, that have been contacting the directors or trying to and being like, Seth needs to get a big role.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you all, guys. That's really, really awesome.
Of course. You definitely
Yeah,
deserve it.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and and honestly, Little Shop of Horrors is I think it's one of my favorite musicals. It'd be kind of pretty cool, maybe to maybe elsewhere play Seymour, and it's either way, it's one of my personal favorites. So
All right, maybe when it comes through our town again, we can go see it.
yeah, yeah, maybe. Um, and another one, this is what I consider my other most favorite musical, but I didn't never really saw it or anything until this past fall, and I've talked about this before. It's a show called She Loves Me, which is a romantic comedy musical, originally I think published in the 1960s, and it follows a um, a couple of people working together at a perfumery or perfume shop in I think Europe, and anonymously interacting with each other in what they call a Lonely Hearts Club, kind of like a pen pal thing.
Oh,
And yeah, and so yeah, I went to see it with because a good friend of mine who had just graduated from college, asked, "Hey, you want to go see this?" And it was at the school he had just graduated from, like the year before, and so he knew some of the people in it, and we went. We went. Three of us went and saw it, and it was it was it's pretty clever. It's funny, good, neat, catchy songs, and a couple of songs. If you've been around musical theater related stuff enough, you probably recognize maybe one or two of the songs in it. um but yeah, it's one of my personal favorites, which I've been telling people, like in Artists Unlimited and elsewhere. It's one of my personal favorites. I've been telling friends that, and someone who volunteered on our AU cast actually the for a school event actually sang one of the songs as well. So
this seems like an exciting production. But why would Artists Unlimited not possibly do this one?
I think because the sophistication of the writing is probably the biggest reason why. I think I think the story is probably um I wouldn't say I don't want to say it's impossible for people like us to comprehend. I follow it enough, and I'm on the spectrum, so I feel like it's difficult, I think, generally for people like us to comprehend. Not impossible, but um, and and take. I feel like maybe the music is a bit tricky. So,
So you think it's
but
kind of like Newsies, maybe, or there's just so much going on that it would be difficult to keep track of everything?
um, well, I guess I think the songs might be like, I feel like they've got, a lot of eloquent lyrics, a lot of. I mean, not that none of us can handle it. I'm sure several of us probably could, but it's at least, I think, a lot to memorize, and a lot to juggle, because it can go on and on, kind of. So I don't I
Right.
don't know. I don't know, but I certainly wouldn't say never.
Yeah, okay, I can definitely understand that. Maybe if they're looking for ideas, we can pitch this to them and see what they think.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking, I would like to see the school I graduated, that I often go see performances at. I would like to see them do that one next year.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
It's like if artists
Yeah.
can't do it, maybe someone else can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this one's more of a cult classic, maybe among young people, like maybe millennials, like yourself, Jordan, and me.
Mm.
Um, it's not necessarily a stage musical. It is more of a. It's actually a television episode. It's specifically of the Disney Channel series Even Stevens, the episode Influenza, the musical. I don't know if you're familiar at all with it.
It was Even Stevens a Nickelodeon show?
Disney.
Disney. Okay, so yeah, I didn't grow up with channels like Disney Channel, Nickelodeon, or Cartoon Network, so I didn't really see a lot of these shows, and unfortunately, that would also imply that I haven't seen much of Even Stevens.
Well, maybe saw it like maybe ABC Saturday mornings because it was part of their lineup on Saturday mornings on ABC for a while.
Oh, maybe I did see it every once in a while, but if I did then it would have been long enough that I don't remember much about it.
Oh, fair, fair. Yeah, but yeah. I more recently watched it when we had Disney Plus. A few episodes of the show, including this musical one, which is basically it's kind of a sort of musical comedy, the half hour long musical comedy where Ren, the lead sister, gets the flu, and there's a whole like six cleverly comedically written musical numbers packed into one half-hour show. Yeah, it's fun, it's funny, and it's I think it's got I got like full blown choreography, funny lyrics, next catchy melodies, and in fact, it's become such a nostalgic, been kind of a cult classic episode of television since that you know it's one episode that people familiar with the show often think back to and bring up and have nostalgic sentimental feelings about. And more recently, Christy Carlson Romano, who played the sister on the series, did a special little video on her YouTube of her and a couple of her castmates and some extras recreating and probably the most famous song from that episode. Oh, we went to the moon in 1969. I could probably include a one. I'll probably include a link in the description of that.
Sure.
Yeah.
If this was a full length production, do you think Artists Unlimited could do something like that? Basically, do you think the length of it being only half an hour is the biggest reason why artists couldn't do something like that, just because of how short it is?
I wasn't really thinking about that. I was thinking maybe just because it's not necessarily a stage thing, it's more of a TV thing.
Oh,
And
okay.
so there's not really, I don't think, an existing stage version of it. But if someone one like myself, I'm actually kind of writing my own stage version of it.
Oh,
Um, yeah, it's coming along slowly, but I think if hypothetically we were able to, get it cleared by Disney and all, and put on our own little take on it, I think it would be just good, fun for so many of us to do as like a little mini project.
that actually could be really fun if we could somehow have a story that took those songs, maybe added a few more,
Yeah,
and stretched out the story a bit. That could definitely be a fun one to do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely recommend watching the episode if you have access to Disney Plus or whatever. It is good fun. It's funny, catchy music, like I said. So
Yeah. Yeah. If I can find a way to see it, because I don't have personal access to Disney Plus, then I'll definitely check out that episode.
yeah, yeah. Um, and then one, and this is just because it's like a separate theater company, that kind of thing. But I saw about a couple years ago for the first time the Jiva musical of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. You know, I feel like s- at this point so much has been said about the story and whatever that I don't feel like I need to say too many descriptive things. I will say from my experience, the Jiva show, which Jiva Theater's a theater company in downtown Rochester that does a lot of stage shows every year. And traditionally, they do a Christmas Carol at Christmas time, and I went to see it once, and it was, you know, the production value was great, great special effects, really good, and good, very good acting, very good singing, very well put together, and it's one of the best things that I've seen.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually seen Jiva's adaptation of it. Obviously, I know the story very well and the characters, um, but I don't know if I've actually seen a stage production of it before. Uh, does it have songs in it?
Yeah, maybe one or two.
All right, because I know that we haven't really done any plays per se. At least all the productions I've been with Artists Unlimited have had a few songs in it. In fact, the first year I was with them was the second time they did Joseph and the Dreamcoat, and that one, everything was done in song.
Yeah.
Uh, but all of our other productions that I've been with them, there's definitely been a lot more speaking, but there's still been at least a good chunk of songs in there too. Uh, I do feel like maybe Artists Unlimited could do it. Uh, I guess we just have to see how they would approach it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe might have to take an angle or two of their own on it, maybe, but
Oh yeah, every once in a while we take a couple minor liberties or so. Nothing that would impact the overall performance, but yeah, I'm sure we could pull some strings and make something happen.
yeah. Um, Also put down Singing in the Rain, which I've seen the film a couple times, and I've seen a stage version of it as well. Um, I mean, it's kind of the music that I kind of have a soft spot for, more jazzy, a little bit of classical. And um, the story is definitely interesting. I think definitely some catchy songs and some pretty good dance numbers as well. It's I think it would be tricky, maybe for the similar reasons to like She Loves Me or a show like that. A little bit complicated writing.
Hmm.
Um, but it's definitely um, a very likable story anyway.
Of course, it's definitely a very popular one. It's been a while since I've seen it, but of course, a lot of people know the song that shares the title with the stage
Yeah,
production itself.
yeah,
And I know they've talked about it briefly every once in a while when they were coming up with ideas, but it doesn't seem like it's often been at the top of their list of shows that they really want to do. But I think for now, it's kind of been in their sort of backup list. Like if one that they really want to do can't be done for whatever reason, then they might jump to that one. Uh, but maybe if we get people talking about it or saying that that's one that they would really like to do, then one director will talk about it with the others, and then maybe they can put it together. But yeah, as I was mentioning, it doesn't seem like it's at the top of their priority list. Not impossible, just not likely, at least for now.
yeah. And a lot of it involves like very elaborate like tap-ish dance numbers, and so I feel like that's a lot for maybe some of us to keep up with. But well, I mean, I know we've had like a good chunk of kids who volunteered with us who are like studio pros. They like do the local dance studio programs, and that kind of thing. I think they could probably more than handle it. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I think the other thought that just came into my mind is the whole idea of singing in the rain. I think usually that does involve them simulating rain on stage, which is fine. But at the same time, I feel like if it's not dealt with immediately after the song is over, then it could cause a slipping hazard for a lot of those people.
Mm.
Because even when we did the production of Willy Wonka, some people were slipping after we just had bubbles coming from the ceiling to simulate the fizzy lifting drink scene. So we had to redirect where they were going. So if we do end up simulating rain, then we have to take similar precautions, is all.
Yeah, well, when I saw the stage version that one time, I don't know if I really saw like real rain, maybe just like some kind of electronic effect or something. I can't remember, but
Oh,
I don't know.
in that case, maybe it will be easier to do than I thought.
Yeah, yeah. My memory's a bit fuzzy of it, but yeah.
Sure.
Um, and then one last one, again, not exactly a stage show, at least not yet, but it could easily be transformed into one. It is the uh, I'm talking about there was an animated television special cartoon thing by Dr. Seuss called Pontoffelpock, Where Are You? Also known as Pontoffelpock and His Magic Piano. I don't know if you're familiar at all with it.
That particular one, no.
No. Yeah. Yeah. I watched quite a number of times as a kid the video cassette of it, and and something I don't know the other day reminded me of it for some reason, and very great Broadway style songs, very imaginative storytelling, very clever writing, and it's like funny and full of heart at the same time. I'm basically it's a story of a sort of a guy who's kind of struggling, kind of what some would call a low life, and he gets given this piano that can fly him around the world or something.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely have not seen it or like read it or in any compassion compassion in any capacity know the story. That being said, it does seem like a fun one to do, and it would be a nice change of pace in that respect from Seussical. Because
Yeah.
Seussical, while it is good, it kind of combines
Mm.
a lot of the more popular Dr. Seuss tales.
Yeah.
So if there was a stage musical that was based on one specific story, then maybe it wouldn't jump around as much and be entertaining in its own right.
Oh yeah, I think yeah, definitely. That's a Seuss story that I feel like is super strong and quite a bit of fun on its own. If and it could be even more if one could bring it to stage life hypothetically.
And it definitely seems, at least based on the fact that I haven't heard of it, maybe it's been a bit overlooked, but if
Mm.
there were a stage version that we ended up doing, then that could help make it more popular so that other people will have heard of it and then go and read it for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it was ever in the form of a book. I think it was maybe just that cartoon, but
Oh,
either way,
oh, okay, okay, I got you.
yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Either way. Either way, I think it's very worthy.
Well, maybe it could be something like you writing out a full-scale production of Influenza the musical. Maybe if you find time, maybe write one for this too.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That is pretty much I think going to do it and we encourage you to, and send us your thoughts about what we've talked about, maybe your thoughts about any musicals in general, or anything that could be transformed into a musical or whatever, or anything really, on our YouTube comment section, on our on my Instagram, Seth underscore Mariano underscore AU, and stream everything on YouTube and Spotify, and talk to us, please.
Yeah, and let us know what musicals that you would like to do in the future that maybe you haven't done yourself. I know Disney announced last year that Hercules and The Greatest Showman would both be getting stage adaptations. So maybe that's one that you would be able to do. I don't know if we could do Greatest Showman for some of the scenes that are in there, but yeah, let us know if you're excited for those. If there's episodes, ideas that you have for us, let us know. If you have comments for previous episodes or this one, you can also tell us about that. We just love to hear from you, and we appreciate any feedback.
All right. Well, until next time, we'll see you.
So long.